There's a phenomenon I've seen across hundreds of coaching sessions with founders. They've built something impressive, turned their original idea into a real solution, grown the team. But internally, they're feeling stuck, like they've hit a wall. And that feeling usually has nothing to do with technical challenges or market conditions. The problem, they just can't seem to get people to do what they need them to do. And in our first conversation, I hear the desperation in their voice, their frustration at having to spend so much time dealing with people problems. They feel out of control, like they don't know how to figure it out, and it's all a distraction from growing the company. Here's a typical scenario I find when we start working together. A team member hasn't been performing. The founder gives them a chance, then another, has conversations about their performance, but nothing changes. The problem takes this disproportionate bandwidth in the founder's mind, and other team members start to complain. But the founder's not sure if they should let the person go because they're getting some work done, and it's going to take so much effort to find a replacement. Any of this sound familiar? You might be thinking, isn't that good leadership? Being understanding, giving people chances? Here's what's actually happening. When you tolerate excuses, you're not being compassionate. You're being unclear. The underperformer doesn't change because, well, they don't have to. And your high performers, they start wondering if standards actually matter or whether they're in the wrong place. So now you think, okay, I'll just stop accepting excuses. I'll be tougher on accountability. But when founders try to change their behavior without understanding what's driving it, then they can't sustain it. Either they fall back into the old pattern as soon as there's pushback, or they overcorrect, what I call the pendulum swing, becoming overly rigid and authoritative in this case. Because most founders, they have no idea of all the emotional triggers that are driving their behavior under pressure. Maybe it's important to be liked, to be seen as a supportive leader. So you accept the excuse, you give someone yet another chance, you postpone the hard decision, not because it's best for the company, but because setting boundaries feels uncomfortable and your brain is rationalizing how to avoid that discomfort. So back to the performer scenario, you said what needs to change. You go into the one-on-one ready to address it. But once again, they show up unprepared. No strategic plan for hitting the Q3 sales target. What you've explicitly asked for several times. Just, yeah, still working on it. Should have something by next week. So you feel deflated, but you're also exhausted, and addressing it right now feels so overwhelming. Here's the thing, rather than just moving on, you can pause and ask yourself, do I actually think waiting another week will bring a different result? Or am I just hoping the problem will somehow resolve itself? An honest answer to that question changes everything. Because without it, you'll spend weeks in the same loop, debating what to do, waiting for next week's update while your pipeline stalls. With the question, you see clearly. You're not being strategic. You're just kicking the can down the road. Doesn't make the decision easier, but at least you know what the real problem is. You're avoiding the conversation. One of my clients described it this way. When you start breaking everything down, the drivers behind each person, what I'm doing personally, what emotions I'm going through, it's amazing what you can see. You understand why this person reacts this way, where they're coming from, and so you can tweak your approach. You shift and better control the situation. If you're not used to reflecting like this, it might seem unnatural at first, but that's the point. Self-awareness is something you learn and develop, and it's not about endless introspection or therapy. It's pattern recognition, understanding which situations trigger you and why, so you can manage yourself in the moment. Most founders have dozens of patterns that get in their way. So when we work together, I help them identify the triggers and map out different approaches that they can try. No dramatic changes, just fine-tuning, recognizing the trigger in the moment, then trying a different approach. Maybe it's a more confident tone, a clearer expectation. Each shift compounds. So if you want to make better decisions, get the best out of your people, and spend way less time on people drama, developing your self-awareness is the place to start. If you want to learn more about this, subscribe and hit the bell, because in future videos, I'm going to be going deeper into how to identify these stealth triggers and read the room. These are the skills that separate founders who scale from founders who plateau. Until next time, I'm rooting for you.